Have you ever had one of those work from home days where technically you had total flexibility, but somehow you still ended up working way too long?
Yeah, and that's the weird part. It doesn't always feel dramatic in the moment. It just kind of sneaks up on you. Then suddenly the day is gone and you're completely drained.
Exactly. And when that kind of exhaustion shows up again and again across lots of people, it stops looking like a personal time management issue and starts looking like a system issue. Well, welcome to the deep dive. Today, our mission is to decode those hidden forces shaping our modern work lives. So that's what we're looking at here, new work and hybrid work through a systems thinking lens. Not as a bunch of productivity tips, but as a way to understand what's shaping employee engagement and well-being over time.
Because on paper, new work sounds great. More autonomy, more flexibility, flatter hierarchies, more human-centered work. And yes, those things can absolutely improve motivation. But at the same time, hybrid work can also blur boundaries, increase digital fatigue, and slowly wear people down.
So the big question is not just whether hybrid work is good or bad, it's what's happening underneath the surface. Let's take a look together at this system dynamic analysis of the new work megatrend and hidden structure loop.
You skipped the commute, sat down at your desk with absolute flexibility, yet somehow the sun is down before you've even stood up. We usually categorize this as a personal failure, a lack of willpower, or a sign that we're simply bad at managing our own time. But when this specific type of exhaustion follows a predictable pattern across entire organizations, it suggests that burnout is a structural outcome of the system itself, rather than an individual mistake. The promise of new work was built on flat hierarchies and maximum autonomy. On paper, it looked like a way to finally escape the rigid structures of the 20th century. In practice, we moved from work-life balance to work-life blending. When the boardroom is your kitchen table and your inbox follows you into the bedroom, physical boundaries effectively disappear. To understand why we feel so drained, we have to look past our daily habits and decode the invisible architectural loops that are actually dictating our routines. This is a reinforcing loop. Increased autonomy drives internal motivation, performance, and trust, feeding a productivity surge. But simultaneously, a balancing loop operates. That exact autonomy blurs physical boundaries. Without cognitive disengagement, your recovery time plummets, dragging the entire system toward a crash. The flexibility that fuels your productivity is the same mechanism that erodes your well-being. When whenever slowly becomes always, the system eventually reaches a breaking point. System scientist Danella Meadows noted that in complex environments, cause and effect are rarely aligned in time. She called this the delay. This chart shows the delay in a hybrid rollout. Engagement spikes in month 1, but well-being drops at a glacial pace, manifesting as burnout in month 6. Organizations misread this gap. By the time burnout hits, the original policy shift seems entirely unrelated. Leadership usually looks for a recent trigger, like a stressful product launch or a specific manager. They blame the immediate symptoms rather than the structural policy they implemented half a year ago. Because organizations can't see past the delay, they remain blind to the systemic flaw and continue to apply the wrong solutions. This leads to a trap called fixes that fail. This is where a short-term intervention accidentally feeds the underlying problem. Companies try to cure burnout by offering even more flexibility, like entirely asynchronous schedules with no core hours, hoping to give employees more control. This is a photo of the OECD headquarters. This organization has warned that overusing telework this way creates massive psychosocial risks. Removing all structural boundaries often creates hidden overtime, as employees feel a new pressure to be constantly responsive. Other organizations fall into drifting goals. This happens when everyday performance pressure slowly lowers the standard for what counts as a healthy boundary. If a manager praises a non-urgent email sent on a Sunday morning, they've set a new, invisible baseline. Over time, the culture shifts toward constant availability, even if the official policy hasn't changed. The employee handbook still says they care about balance, but the actual lived culture has drifted miles away from that goal. We contribute to this through bounded rationality. This is the idea that we make logical decisions based on our immediate local perspective, even if those choices eventually damage the system as a whole. Sending an email at 10 p.m. is a rational way to prove you're a team player, but when every person makes that same choice, it creates a toxic culture of overwork that no one actually intended to build. Individual willpower is a depleting resource.
To change the outcome, we have to look at leverage points, specific places where a structural shift can produce a lasting change in collective behavior. Leaders must shift from tracking activity to trusting outcome-based results. Organizations need to move past vague suggestions and implement a structural right to disconnect, turning boundaries into hard rules. We also need early warning systems. Organizations should track meeting patterns or overtime in week 3, rather than waiting for burnout to show up months later. We also need mandated inclusive practices to ensure remote workers don't lose out on mentoring or promotions. This system doesn't self-regulate. It requires us to bring invisible boundaries into the open. That 10 p.m. email can wait until tomorrow.
That email can wait till tomorrow. So what does all of that add up to? For me, the biggest takeaway is pretty simple. Newark is not a self-regulating system. Yeah. Just giving people flexibility does not automatically create healthy outcomes.
Right, because the same autonomy that boosts engagement in the short term can also blur boundaries, reduce recovery, and slowly drag down well-being. And the tricky part is those negative effects often show up late.
And that's really the added value of the model. It shows something a normal linear explanation misses. Short-term gains in engagement and long-term losses in well-being can happen at the same time. That's why organizations often think everything is working while the damage is already building underneath. Once you see that, the leverage points become much clearer. And first, leadership has to move away from judging people by visibility and constant responsiveness and shift more toward trust and outcomes.
Second, organizations need clear boundary norms, not vague advice, and real expectations around response times, meetings, downtime, and recovery. Otherwise, flexibility quietly turns into constant availability.
And third, feedback has to come earlier. If you wait until burnout is obvious, you're already too late. That's why things like pulse checks, overtime patterns, and meeting overload matter so much. And fairness matters too, so remote employees don't slowly lose visibility or opportunities. So our conclusion is this: hybrid work can absolutely work well, but only if the system is designed well. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive into Newark analysis. See you next time.